there are some misunderstandings about the IELTS that are important for you to understand. There are some things that are said that are true and some things that are not true. What is true is that the IELTS speaking test can ask each test taker to answer questions about certain topics. And the people who take the test, who are prepared and can tell a great story about their life, will tend to get a higher score. Here are some of the things that are not true. It is not true that certain IELTS test centers are luckier than others. There's no luck involved. The IELTS is a highly systematically administered test. It's the same everywhere. Another thing that is just not true is that there are a certain number of high band scores that each of the test centers can give out. This is not true. In some countries, the scores are higher on average than other countries, and we'll discuss why that is in a second. Another thing that is just not true is that some countries are allowed to achieve higher on the IELTS, or that a certain country has a maximum number of high IELTS scores that it can give. This is not true. Each test center is administered according to a very strict number of rules, and the IELTS examiners are tested on obeying these rules. That's why they get paid more than average teachers. It is also not true that you must agree with the IELTS examiner on any question that he or she asks. You don't have to agree. You do have to answer the question in a way that shows you have a broad vocabulary and that you can make a logical argument about the question. Do you agree that some people famous today are famous because they're just famous, a reality TV show star, or someone who becomes accidentally famous for being on camera doing something silly? You don't have to agree with that. You can say, in my opinion, the reality TV show stars are famous for a brief amount of time, but they don't really have the type of fame that lasts, like a scientist who invents something that really helps people, an engineer, or someone in technology who invents something that changes people's lives, or maybe a politician who helps enact policies that really help people's lives. You don't have to agree with what you think the IELTS examiner is asking. They may have their own opinion, but they judge you on how well you answer your question. Another misconception is taking the IELTS many times will get you a higher score. This is not always true, because some people take the IELTS and they're very nervous, right? It's an uncomfortable situation to have to sit in a room and look at someone who you don't know, who's asking a lot of difficult questions about your life or your experiences, and have to think about the answer in English. Some people do benefit by practicing more, but I had a student who took the IELTS 7 times and his score did not change because the quality of his answers did not change. To raise your IELTS speaking test score, you must raise the quality of how you answer and what you say, and to tell a compelling story that shows you can say, in the present time, things are like this, and in the past, they were like that, and then in the future, they might be something different. Those kind of constructions and logical arguments will help you raise your IELTS score. But just someone taking the test 7 times and not increasing their vocabulary in between is kind of a waste of money and a waste of time for that person. Now, some countries do on average score higher on the IELTS than others. The applicants from Germany have an average of 7.3 out of the 9 on the IELTS speaking test. And in past years, Malaysia and Nigerian applicants got a 6.9. Well, those are very good scores. It's because the way they study for the test is above average. While in other countries, in Asia especially, the average score is between 5.5 for Thailand and up to 5.9 for Vietnam, with China and Japan and Korea about 5.7 or 5.8. One of the reasons that some Asian students do not score as high on the IELTS is because English is quite different than their native language. Or maybe the way they learn English doesn't emphasize speaking in public. These are things you can improve on, and this is why I do this video series. I teach Asian students and I help them understand how to make a strong case or argument for a certain point of view, or just to tell a story about when they went on a trip with their friends. These kind of things. Getting used to speaking out loud is the best thing you can do, and imitating someone like me who can teach you how to tell a story that gives information that's interesting will really help your score. The IELTS speaking test examiner is a man or a woman who is a professional teacher. They have a very high degree of accomplishment in the English language. They had to take the IELTS itself in a training program so that they are a 9.0, the highest score on the IELTS for all 4 sections. These are people who really, really love stories and books and travel and the world of imagination, and they love the English language. They become IELTS examiners because it's a well-paying job. They spend some days during the month sitting with students like you or applicants like you and asking questions, and the rest of the month they're looking at answers or they're doing more training. So it's an attractive job for that particular kind of person. The IELTS examiner is not an engineer. He or she is not a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. They love the English language, and they love stories, and they love to hear and learn new things. So your assignment today is to think about these different categories on the IELTS. What is asked of you about travel, about pollution, about the past, present, and future for technology, or who becomes famous, or these categories of questions, and think about something in your life that you could say, and then tell a story. And you're telling a story about people, tell who they are, what they look like, and what they enjoy, and how you felt about it. This will get your score higher, and the more you practice this telling of stories, the higher your IELTS speaking test score will be. It won't be because of a lucky test center. They do not exist. It will not because there's a certain number of high scores each center can give. It is not true. It is not because each country has a maximum number of high band scores for the IELTS speaking test. We saw some countries score higher than others. It has to do with preparation, and it has to do with practice in speaking English and telling stories. I wish you good luck, but mostly I wish that I could help you. I wrote a book all about this approach to the IELTS speaking test and how to prepare and tell a story and understand what the IELTS speaking test examiner would enjoy hearing about. And the book is in the description below. I wrote this book. You can click on the link to it and see that. Please follow these video series and subscribe. It can make a big difference in your test exam score. It has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with preparation and being ready to tell a story. The preparation is knowing what you might be asked. And the telling a story you can practice by following these videos and looking at my book. Study well and be prepared to tell a great story.